Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Defiance and watched the stars through the main screen. His crew had been traveling for 3 months now, going further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. They were looking for new worlds and new life among the stars. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Lieutenant Sam Collins looked up from his station with excitement in his eyes. "Captain, we are getting a signal," he said. "It's not coming from Earth." "Someone else is out here." Jake felt his heart beat faster. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in space. Now they might finally have an answer. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The message was hard to understand at first. Strange sounds and pictures filled the screen. Dr. Lisa Kane, the ship's science officer, worked quickly to make sense of it. "It's a distress call," she said after several minutes. "Someone needs help." Jake did not wait long to decide. "Set course for the signal," he told his pilot. "Maximum speed." The Defiance traveled for 2 days before they found the source of the signal. What they saw made everyone on the bridge stop talking. A damaged alien ship was floating in space. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. The ship was long and curved with strange markings on its hull. "Life signs detected," reported Alex Rivera from the tactical station. "There are survivors aboard that ship." Jake ordered his crew to bring the alien ship into their cargo bay. When they opened the airlock, they met their first aliens. They were tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in a language no human had heard before. Dr. Kane worked with her computer to translate the alien words. It took time, but slowly they began to understand each other. The alien leader called himself Zeftar. He told them a story that shocked everyone who heard it. "We come from the planet Corvex," Zeftar said through the translator. "Our world was free once, but not anymore. The cosmic hegemony came to our planet many years ago. They made us slaves. We fought them, but they were too strong." Lisa asked what the cosmic hegemony was. Zeftar's face showed great sadness as he explained. "They rule over 1 million worlds. Every planet they find becomes part of their empire. They take the strongest beings to be soldiers. They take the smartest ones to work in their labs. Everyone else becomes a worker in their mines and factories." Jake felt anger growing inside him. "How long has this been going on?" 10,000 years, Zeftar replied. "No one has ever beaten them. No one has ever stayed free once they found you. We tried to run away, but their patrol ships found us. Our ship is damaged. We cannot escape." The humans looked at each other with shock. They had just learned that their galaxy was ruled by an evil empire that made slaves of entire worlds. Jake made a choice that would change everything. "You are under our protection now," he told Zeftar. "No one will make slaves of you while we are here." Zeftar looked confused. "You do not understand. The hegemony is too powerful. They have ships that can destroy planets. They have armies of millions. You cannot fight them." "Maybe not," Jake said, "but we will not let them take you back." As if his words had called them, the ship's alarms began to sound. 3 large ships had appeared on their sensors. They were moving fast toward the Defiance. Alex looked at his screen with worry. "Captain, those ships are 10 times bigger than us. Their weapons are charging." The lead hegemony ship sent a message. The alien voice was cold and cruel. "Human vessel, you carry escaped property of the cosmic hegemony. Return our slaves immediately, or be destroyed." Jake looked at his crew. He saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. These were good people who believed in doing what was right. He turned to the communication system and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Defiance. The beings on our ship are not property. They are free people under our protection. We will not give them to you." The hegemony commander laughed. "Then you will die with them, foolish humans." The three enemy ships began firing their weapons. The Defiance shook as energy beams hit their shields. Jake ordered his crew to fight back. Their ship was smaller and weaker, but humans had something the hegemony did not expect. They refused to give up. Sam worked to boost their weapon power while Alex found weak spots in the enemy ships. Lisa helped Zeftar and his people get to safety. The battle was hard and dangerous, but the humans used tricks and speed to stay alive. When the Defiance finally escaped into hyperspace, they carried more than just alien refugees. They carried the news that would change the galaxy forever. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had fought the cosmic hegemony and lived to tell about it. As they flew toward Earth, Jake sent a message home. "We are not alone in space," he said, "and neither is evil." The message from Captain Jake Morrison reached Earth 6 days later and changed everything. President Helen Carter called an emergency meeting with leaders from every nation. In the Great Hall where they met, Zeftar stood before the people, who would decide humanity's future. "Show them," President Carter said to Dr. Lisa Kane. Lisa activated the holographic display that showed a map of their galaxy. Red dots covered most of the star systems. "Each red dot is a world controlled by the cosmic hegemony," she explained. "Over 1 million planets with billions of people living as slaves." The room fell silent. General Frank Norton, head of Earth's military forces, was the first to speak. "How many ships do they have?" Zeftar answered through the translator device. Lisa had built. "More than there are stars you can see in your night sky. Their fleet is bigger than anything you can imagine. Some leaders wanted to hide Earth and hoped the hegemony would never find them." Senator Bob Williams stood up and spoke loudly. "We should build defenses around our solar system and stay hidden. We cannot fight an empire that controls 1 million worlds." But President Carter shook her head. "We cannot hide from this. If they rule 1 million worlds, they will find us eventually. Besides, can we really stay safe while knowing that billions of innocent people are living as slaves?" The debate went on for hours. Finally, a young engineer named Sam Collins, who had traveled back with the Defiance, asked to speak. "I have been studying their technology," he said. "Their ships are powerful, but they are old designs. They have not changed their weapons or engines in thousands of years. They became lazy because no one ever fought back." "What are you saying?" asked General Norton. "I am saying we can beat them," Sam replied. "Not with bigger guns or stronger ships, but with better ideas. Humans are good at solving problems in new ways. We can take their technology and make it better." President Carter made the choice that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "We will not hide while others suffer. We will fight for freedom, not just for ourselves, but for every enslaved world in this galaxy." The next months were the busiest in human history. Every factory on Earth began making new ships and weapons. Sam Collins led teams of engineers who worked day and night to improve captured hegemony technology. They made human ships faster and their weapons more accurate. Commander Alex Rivera trained the first human liberation fleet. He taught pilots new ways to fight that the hegemony had never seen before. Instead of flying in straight lines like the enemy expected, human ships would move in wild patterns that made them hard to hit. Dr. Lisa Kane worked to contact resistance groups on other worlds. Using the communication technology they had captured, she sent messages across space. The words were simple but powerful. "You are not alone. Help is coming." Meanwhile, Zeftar helped train human soldiers in what to expect when fighting the hegemony. "They are cruel but predictable," he told them. "They always attack the same way because it has always worked before. But you humans think differently. Use that." The response from across the galaxy surprised everyone. Planets that had been quiet for hundreds of years suddenly began sending secret messages. Slave worlds that had given up hope started planning rebellions. News that someone had fought the hegemony and won was spreading faster than anyone expected. But the hegemony was not going to let this continue. High Overlord Vexthul, the supreme ruler of their empire, decided to crush humanity before their rebellion could grow. He gathered the largest fleet in hegemony history and set course for Earth. The news reached Earth through their spy networks. 5,000 enemy ships were coming to destroy humanity's home world. Earth had only 800 ships ready to fight, and most of them were smaller than the enemy vessels. General Norton called it hopeless. "We should evacuate as many people as possible and find a new home somewhere else," he said. But President Carter refused to run. "This is our home. If we run now, we will spend the rest of our lives running. We make our stand here." Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, agreed. "We have something they do not have," he told the War Council. "We have people fighting for their homes and families. They have slaves fighting because they are forced to." The Battle of the Sol System began when the hegemony fleet appeared at the edge of human space. Their ships formed perfect lines as they moved toward Earth. It was a sight that had made 1,000,000 worlds surrender without fighting, but humans did not surrender. Every ship in the Earth fleet charged toward the enemy. Space stations turned their mining lasers into weapons. Civilian ships carried explosives toward enemy vessels. Even the asteroids in the belt around Mars became weapons when humans attached rocket engines to them. The battle lasted 3 days. Human ships were destroyed, but for every human vessel lost, they took down 2 enemy ships. The hegemony had never faced an enemy that refused to quit even when losing. On the 3rd day, something happened that no one expected. Some of the hegemony ships stopped fighting. Their crews were slaves from conquered worlds who had heard the human messages about freedom. When they saw humans willing to die rather than become slaves, they remembered what freedom meant. The slave crews turned their weapons on their own commanders. Ships that had been fighting for the hegemony suddenly joined the human fleet. High Overlord Vexthul watched his perfect formation fall apart as more and more ships switched sides. In the end, the hegemony fleet was defeated not by superior weapons, but by an idea. The idea that freedom was worth fighting for, even when the odds seemed impossible. As the surviving enemy ships fled back to hegemony space, Admiral Morrison sent a message that would be heard on 1,000,000 worlds. "Today we proved that the chains of slavery can be broken. Today we showed that freedom will always find a way." News of the human victory at Earth spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. On 1,000 worlds, slaves who had forgotten the meaning of hope suddenly remembered what it felt like to dream of freedom. The cosmic hegemony had been defeated for the first time in 10,000 years, and everyone knew it. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Liberation. Around him, the human liberation fleet prepared for their first mission beyond Earth's solar system. These were no longer just human ships. Crews from dozens of worlds that had joined the rebellion worked alongside human officers. "Target confirmed," reported Commander Alex Rivera from the tactical station. "The labor camp on Xerion Prime has over 2 million slaves working in the mining operations." Dr. Lisa Kane studied the intelligence reports they had received from the underground resistance. "The guards are mostly automated systems with a small crew of hegemony overseers. If we move fast, we can free everyone before reinforcements arrive." Zeftar, now wearing the uniform of the Free Worlds Alliance, pointed to the display screen. "My people built those mines when we were slaves. I know every tunnel and passage. We can guide the rescue teams to the prisoner compounds." Jake nodded. "Remember, everyone, our goal is to save lives, not destroy them. We fight to free people, not to get revenge." The attack on Xerion Prime became the model for all future liberation missions. Human ships appeared without warning and destroyed the orbital defense platforms. Landing craft filled with human and alien soldiers descended to the planet's surface. But instead of conquering the world, they opened the prison camps and handed weapons to the slaves inside. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 2 million beings who had been forced to work in dark tunnels suddenly found themselves free to choose their own destiny. Most chose to fight alongside their liberators. Dr. Kane had prepared for this moment. She had spent months creating something called the Free World's Charter, a document that promised every species the right to govern themselves while working together for mutual defense. Unlike the hegemony, which ruled through fear, the alliance would be built on voluntary cooperation. "We offer you freedom," she told the newly liberated population of Zerion Prime. "Not just from the hegemony, but freedom to choose your own leaders and your own future. Join us if you want to, but the choice is always yours." The response was better than anyone had hoped. Not only did Zerion Prime join the alliance, but thousands of former slaves volunteered to help free other worlds. They knew where the hegemony was weak and which planets were ready to rebel. Engineer Sam Collins worked with alien scientists to combine human technology with the knowledge of dozens of species. The result was ships and weapons that were better than anything either humans or aliens could build alone. "When free people work together," he told his mixed teams, "there is no limit to what we can achieve." But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young slave named Nira from the Talari species had escaped during the liberation of Zerion Prime. She was small and seemed weak, but she had something precious: information about the hegemony's communication networks. "I worked in their data centers," she told Lisa through a translator. "I know how their messages travel between worlds. If you can reach their communication satellites, you can send messages to every slave in the hegemony." Lisa realized immediately how valuable this was. "We could coordinate rebellions across hundreds of worlds at the same time. Instead of freeing planets one at a time, we could spark a galaxy-wide revolution." The plan they developed was ambitious beyond anything anyone had attempted before. Human ships would attack key communication hubs, while Alliance agents already on hegemony worlds would broadcast a simple message to every slave in the Empire. "You are not alone. Rise up. Help is coming." The operation began at exactly the same time on 50 different worlds. Human and Alliance forces struck at communication centers, defense platforms, and slave camps. But the real weapon was not their ships or guns. It was the message itself. On world after world, slaves who had never imagined freedom was possible suddenly heard that others were fighting for them. Factory workers stopped their machines. Miners put down their tools. Soldiers who had been forced to fight for the hegemony turned their weapons on their commanders. High Overlord Vexthul watched his empire begin to crumble from his throne room on the capital world of Hegemonia. Reports flooded in from across his domain. Planets were declaring independence. Fleets were switching sides. The rebellion was spreading faster than his forces could respond. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his generals. "We have ruled for 10,000 years. We have crushed every rebellion. How can these humans destroy what we have built?" General Korth, his most trusted commander, had an answer that Vexthul did not want to hear. "They do not fight like previous rebels, my lord. Past uprisings wanted to replace us as rulers, but these humans do something different. They free worlds and then let them choose their own leaders. They do not seek to rule others. They seek to end all ruling." Vexthul's face twisted with rage. "Then we will show them the price of defying the hegemony. Order the destruction of 3 worlds that have joined their alliance. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who choose freedom over order." The order went out across hegemony space. 3 beautiful worlds with billions of inhabitants would be destroyed as an example to others. It was the kind of ruthless action that had kept the hegemony in power for millennia. But this time, something different happened. When the hegemony fleets arrived to destroy the rebel worlds, they found human and Alliance ships waiting to defend them. The message was clear. No world would stand alone against tyranny anymore. The Battle of the 3 Worlds lasted for days and cost thousands of lives on both sides. But when it was over, all three planets remained free. For the first time in galactic history, the hegemony had been unable to punish rebellion with total destruction. The victory had an effect that no one expected. Worlds that had remained loyal to the hegemony out of fear began to question their allegiance. If the mighty empire could not even destroy three small rebel planets, perhaps it was not as invincible as everyone believed. Jake Morrison sent a message that reached every corner of the galaxy. Today we proved that freedom can defend itself. Today we showed that the strong can protect the weak instead of enslaving them. The chains that have bound 1,000,000 worlds for 10,000 years are beginning to break. The war had been going on for 2 years now, and Admiral Jake Morrison could see the cost in the faces of his crew. Every victory came with a price paid in blood and lives. The Liberation had won dozens of battles, but each one left fewer familiar faces on the bridge. "Report from the medical bay," said Commander Alex Rivera, his voice heavy with fatigue. "We lost another 130 people in the attack on Vegan Prime. The enemy is fighting harder now. They know they are losing, so they take as many of us with them as they can." Jake stared out at the stars and wondered if they were asking too much of their people. The Free Worlds Alliance now included over 3,000 planets, but the hegemony still controlled hundreds of thousands more. The math was simple and terrible. At this rate, they would run out of soldiers before they ran out of worlds to free. Dr. Lisa Kane entered the bridge carrying reports that made the situation even more complicated. "We have a problem," she said. "Some of our alliance members are starting to act like the enemy. The Corvani forces destroyed a hegemony city yesterday, killing millions of civilians. When I asked Zeftar why, he said that mercy is weakness." "That is not who we are," Jake replied firmly. "We fight to free people, not to kill them." "Try telling that to someone whose family was enslaved for generations," Lisa said. "The aliens we have freed carry a lot of anger. They want revenge, not justice. Some of them are saying that humans are too soft to win this war." The problem was getting worse across Alliance space. Species that had suffered under hegemony rule for centuries wanted to make their former masters pay. They saw human mercy as naive and dangerous. Military commanders from liberated worlds argued that the only way to defeat the hegemony was to become as ruthless as they were. In his workshop, deep inside the Liberation, engineer Sam Collins faced his own moral crisis. He had created a weapon that could destroy entire enemy fleets in seconds. The technology used the same power source as stars, compressed into a single devastating blast. It could end the war quickly and save millions of lives, but using it would mean becoming the kind of people they were fighting against. The weapon could not tell the difference between enemy soldiers and civilians. It would kill everyone on any ship or planet it targeted. "The mathematics are clear," his assistant, A.E. brilliant Talari named Naira, told him as they worked late into the night. "If we use this weapon 10 times, we could destroy the hegemony's main fleets. The war would be over in months instead of decades." Sam looked at the weapon design on his screen. It was beautiful in its simplicity and terrible in its power. But then what kind of galaxy would we have saved? What is the point of fighting for freedom if we lose our souls in the process? Nira had grown from a frightened slave into one of the Alliance's best engineers, but she still carried the scars of her time in captivity. "You humans think too much about souls," she said. "I think about the billions of people still in chains. Would you let them suffer longer to keep your conscience clean?" The argument was interrupted by alarms throughout the ship. The hegemony had found Earth again, and this time they were bringing everything they had. High Overlord Vexthul had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history and was heading straight for humanity's home world. 5 million ships, reported the communications officer. They have pulled forces from across their empire. If they take Earth, they can cut off the head of our rebellion. Jake made the hardest decision of his life. Send word to all Alliance fleets. We are going home to defend Earth. Every ship, every soldier, everything we have. The journey back to Earth's solar system took 3 weeks. During that time, Jake watched his Alliance fleet grow as ships from hundreds of worlds joined the defense force. Former slaves flew alongside their liberators, ready to die to protect the world that had given them hope. Dr. Kane worked to coordinate the defense, but the numbers were overwhelming. "We have 50,000 ships," she reported. "They have 5 million. Even if every Alliance ship destroys 100 enemy vessels, we will still lose." "Then we will make them pay for every inch of space," Jake replied. "Earth gave birth to the idea of freedom in this galaxy. If we must die defending it, then we die as free people." The battle for Earth began when the massive hegemony fleet entered the solar system. Their ships blotted out the stars, a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across space. But the Alliance fleet did not wait for them to attack. They charged forward with a courage that amazed even their enemies. Human ships flew in patterns that seemed impossible, dodging between enemy vessels and striking at weak points. Allied forces from dozens of species used tactics they had learned in their own liberation wars. Former slaves fought with the desperation of people who knew that defeat meant returning to chains. For 5 days, the battle raged across Earth's solar system. Entire fleets were destroyed in single engagements. The space around Earth became a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams. But still, the Alliance forces fought on. On the 6th day, Sam Collins made his choice. As enemy, ships broke through the outer defenses and headed for Earth itself. He activated the weapon he had created. The blast destroyed 10,000 hegemony vessels in an instant, saving Earth from immediate destruction. But the victory felt hollow. Jake Morrison looked at the expanding cloud of debris that had once been ships filled with living beings. "How many people did we just kill?" he asked. "The enemy crews were mostly slaves forced to fight," Sam replied quietly. "We saved Earth, but we became killers to do it. The cost of victory was not just measured in ships and lives. The Alliance had compromised its principles to win, and everyone knew it. Some commanders argued that they should use the weapon again to end the war quickly. Others said that if they became like their enemies, then the hegemony had already won. As the surviving enemy ships retreated from Earth's solar system, Jake sent a message to High Overlord Vex Thul. "This war has gone on too long and cost too much. Let us find a way to end it without destroying everything we both claim to protect." But Vexthul's reply showed that the hegemony leadership had learned nothing from their defeats. "You humans have proven to be more dangerous than we thought. We will not make the mistake of underestimating you again. The next time we meet, it will be at the galactic core, where weapons exist that can destroy all life in the galaxy. If we cannot rule, then no one will live." The Alliance had won the battle for Earth. But the war was entering its most dangerous phase. The enemy was ready to destroy everything rather than accept defeat, and the Alliance had to decide how far they were willing to go to stop them. The revelation that High Overlord Vexthul would rather destroy the galaxy than lose control of it changed everything about the war. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the war room aboard the Liberation, surrounded by holographic displays showing the galactic core where ancient weapons waited to end all life among the stars. "The archives we captured from the enemy show the truth," Dr. Lisa Kane explained to the assembled Alliance commanders. "Millions of years ago, there was another galactic civilization. When they faced conquest by the ancestors of the hegemony, they built weapons powerful enough to sterilize entire star systems. They chose to destroy themselves rather than become slaves." Commander Alex Rivera studied the tactical displays with growing concern. "If Vexthul reaches those weapons, he can carry out his threat. The core systems contain enough firepower to kill everything within 10,000 light years of the galactic center." "Then we have to stop him," said Zeftar, who had become one of the Alliance's most trusted generals. But how do we fight an enemy who is willing to commit universal suicide? The answer came from an unexpected source. Naira, the former slave, who had become one of their best engineers, had been working on a project that could change the nature of the conflict entirely. She had created a communication system that could not be blocked or jammed by any known technology. I call it the Freedom Network, she explained to the War Council. It can reach every communication device in hegemony space at the same time. We can speak directly to every slave, every soldier, every person in their empire. Jake understood immediately. Instead of fighting them world by world, we convince them to free themselves. We turn the entire hegemony population against their leaders. The message has to be perfect, Lisa added. We get one chance to reach everyone at once. What we say will determine whether we save the galaxy or watch it burn. The plan they developed was ambitious beyond anything they had attempted before. While the Alliance fleet engaged hegemony forces in a series of diversionary battles, special teams would infiltrate deep into enemy territory to activate the Freedom Network. But the real weapon would be the message itself. We tell them the truth, Jake decided after hours of debate. We tell them about Earth, about the worlds we have freed, about what life can be like when people choose their own destiny. We show them that freedom is not just a dream, but a reality they can have. The operation began with simultaneous attacks across hegemony space. Alliance forces struck at military bases and communication centers, making the enemy believe they were facing a conventional offensive. Meanwhile, small teams of volunteers infiltrated the most heavily guarded systems in the Empire. Commander Rivera led one of these teams deep into hegemony territory. Their mission was to reach the core communication hub that controlled message traffic for half the Empire. The journey took them through systems where no free ship had ever traveled. Enemy patrol approaching, reported his pilot as they flew through a sector filled with slave labor camps. 3 ships, moving to intercept. Alex made a decision that would have seemed crazy earlier in the war. Instead of fighting or hiding, he opened communication channels with the patrol ships. This is Commander Alex Rivera of the Free Worlds. Alliance, we are here to offer you a choice. The response was immediate and hostile. Surrender now or be destroyed, rebels. Look around you, Alex continued calmly. You are guarding camps filled with slaves who could be your brothers, your sisters, your children. Is this the galaxy you want to live in? Is this what you are fighting to preserve? For a moment, there was silence on the communication channel. Then one of the patrol ship commanders spoke, his voice uncertain. What choice are you offering? The answer was simple and powerful. The choice to be free. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy as Alliance teams reached their targets. The Freedom Network activated on schedule, and suddenly, every communication device in hegemony space carried the same message. It was not a threat or a demand for surrender. It was an invitation. People of the galaxy, Jake Morrison's voice reached every corner of the Empire. You have been told that slavery is order, that freedom is chaos, that some beings are born to rule while others are born to serve. These are lies told by those who fear losing their power over you. The message continued with images from freed worlds, showing former slaves working alongside their liberators, governing themselves, building new lives based on their own choices. It showed children of different species playing together, learning together, growing up free. We do not ask you to follow us, the message concluded. We ask you to follow your own hearts. You know what freedom feels like because it lives inside every thinking being. Today you can choose to claim it. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On thousands of worlds, slave populations simply stopped working. Soldiers threw down their weapons rather than fight for an empire that had never given them anything but chains. Even some hegemony officers joined the growing rebellion when they realized that their own families were prisoners of the system they served. High Overlord Vexthul watched his empire collapse from his fortress at the galactic core. Report after report brought news of defections, rebellions, and entire systems declaring independence. His advisors fled rather than face his rage, as he realized that his 10,000-year empire was crumbling in a matter of days. Impossible. He raged at the few officers who remained loyal. I am the supreme ruler of 1,000,000 worlds. I have armies beyond counting. How can words defeat weapons? General Korth, his last remaining commander, gave him an answer he did not want to hear. Because those words remind people of something they had forgotten, my lord. They remind them that they are not things to be owned, but beings with the right to choose their own fate. As more and more of his forces switched sides, Vexthul retreated to the ancient weapon systems at the galactic core. If he could not rule the galaxy, he would destroy it rather than let it be free. The weapons were massive constructions built by a dead civilization, still functional after millions of years. But he was not alone in the core systems. Alliance forces had been moving toward the center of the galaxy, following intelligence provided by defectors from his own ranks. The final confrontation would take place among the ancient weapons that could end all life in the galaxy. Engineer Sam Collins worked frantically to understand the alien technology before Vexthul could activate. These weapons are powered by artificial black holes, he reported to Jake. If he turns them on, they will create a chain reaction that destroys every star system within 10,000 light years. How long do we have? Jake asked. Hours, maybe less. The activation sequence has already begun. The race to save the galaxy was about to reach its climax at the very heart of the Milky Way, where humanity would face its greatest test, and the universe would learn whether freedom was strong enough to overcome the ultimate evil. The galactic core blazed with the light of billions of stars packed closer together than anywhere else in the galaxy. Among those ancient suns, weapons built by a dead civilization waited to destroy everything that lived and breathed in the surrounding space. Admiral Jake Morrison led the Alliance fleet toward the most dangerous place in the galaxy, knowing that the fate of every living thing depended on what happened in the next few hours. Sensors detect massive energy readings from the core weapons, reported Commander Alex Rivera from his station on the Liberation. Vexthul has begun the activation sequence. We have maybe 3 hours before he can fire. Dr. Lisa Kane worked frantically at her communication station, trying to reach the enslaved technicians who maintained the ancient weapons. If we can convince the workers to sabotage the systems from inside, we might be able to stop the activation. Keep trying, Jake ordered. Alex, how many enemy ships are defending the core? Fewer than we expected, Alex replied, studying his tactical display. It looks like most of hegemony forces have switched sides or simply refused to follow Vexthul's suicide orders. We are facing maybe 10,000 ships instead of the 1,000,000 we thought would be here. The battle for the galactic core began as Alliance forces engaged the remaining hegemony loyalists. These were the most fanatical supporters of the old empire, beings who would rather die than live in a free galaxy. They fought with desperate courage, knowing that defeat meant the end of everything they believed in. But the Alliance had something more powerful than fanaticism. They had hope. Ships crewed by former slaves fought alongside human vessels, all united by the dream of a galaxy where no one would ever wear chains again. Every species that had joined the rebellion was represented in the fleet that now battled, among the stars at the galaxy's heart. While the space battle raged, small teams of Alliance commandos attempted to land on the weapon platforms themselves. Engineer Sam Collins led one of these teams, carrying equipment that might be able to disable the ancient systems. With him was Naira, the former slave who had become one of their best technical experts. The weapon platforms are huge, Sam reported, as their landing craft approached the nearest installation. These things are the size of small moons. Finding the control systems will be like looking for a single grain of sand on a beach. Not if we know where to look, Nira replied. She had studied the technical manuals they had captured from Hegemony archives. The original builders were logical. The most important systems will be at the center of each platform, protected by multiple barriers. Their landing craft touched down on the surface of the weapon platform in a landscape that looked like a mechanical nightmare. Ancient machinery stretched as far as they could see, still humming with power after millions of years. Defensive systems immediately began targeting the intruders, but the Alliance team was ready for them. "Move fast," Sam ordered as they fought, their way through automated defenses. "We have 2 hours before Vex Thul can complete the firing sequence." Meanwhile, Lisa had finally made contact with the slave technicians who kept the weapons operational. Her message was broadcast directly to their workstations, bypassing the Hegemony communication filters. "You have a choice," she told them. "You can continue to serve masters who see you as tools, or you can choose freedom for yourselves and every living being in the galaxy. The weapons you maintain will kill your own families and children along with everyone else. Is loyalty to the Hegemony worth universal death?" The response came from a technician named Krell, whose people had been enslaved for over 1,000 years. "We want to help you, but the overseers watch everything we do. If we try to sabotage the weapons, they will kill us." "Then we will help you," Lisa replied. "Alliance forces are landing on your platform right now. When the fighting starts, you will have your chance." The battle inside the weapon platform was fierce and deadly. Hegemony guards fought desperately to protect the ancient systems, while Alliance commandos pushed toward the control centers. Sam and his team moved through corridors filled with technology that humanity was only beginning to understand. There, Naira pointed to a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. "That is the main control matrix. If we can damage those crystals, the weapon cannot fire." But between them and the control matrix stood High Overlord Vexathul himself, along with his personal guard of the most elite Hegemony soldiers. The supreme ruler of the dying empire held a device that could trigger the weapons manually. "So the humans come to stop me personally?" Vexathul said, his voice filled with cold hatred. "You have destroyed everything I built. Everything my ancestors built, 10,000 years of order and stability, ruined by your foolish ideals." Jake Morrison had arrived with reinforcements just in time for the final confrontation. "We did not destroy your empire," he replied calmly. "We simply gave people the choice to leave it. They chose freedom over slavery, hope over fear." "Freedom is chaos," Vexthul snarled. "Without rulers and subjects, without order imposed from above, civilization collapses into barbarism. I would rather see the galaxy dead than see it descend into the anarchy you call freedom." "Then you understand nothing about what we fight." "For," said Naira, stepping forward despite the weapons pointed at her, "I was your slave once. I worked in your data centers and lived in your camps. I thought freedom was impossible until humans showed me otherwise. But freedom is not about chaos. It is about choice." As she spoke, something unexpected happened. Some of Vexthul's own guards began lowering their weapons. These soldiers had families, had dreams beyond serving an empire that saw them as expendable. The message of freedom had reached even here, to the very heart of Hegemony power. "Even. Now your own people choose freedom over slavery," Jake observed. "The empire is finished, Vexthul. The only question is whether you will let it die with honor or drag the entire galaxy down with it." For a moment, the ancient ruler hesitated. In his eyes, they could see the weight of 10,000 years of absolute power and the fear of a universe where no one would ever again kneel before his throne. Then his face hardened with final resolve. "If I cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will live in it," he declared, raising the trigger device. But before he could activate the doomsday weapons, one of his own guards stepped forward and placed a hand on his arm. "My lord," the soldier said quietly, "my children live on one of the worlds those weapons will destroy. Please let them have a chance to grow up free." The moment of doubt was all the Alliance needed. Sam and Naira reached the control matrix and began disabling the ancient systems. One by one, the weapon platforms shut down as their slave crews finally chose freedom over obedience. Vexthul's scream of rage echoed through the chamber as he watched his ultimate weapon fail. The device in his hand became useless as the systems it controlled went offline. 10,000 years of tyranny died not with violence, but with a simple choice made by ordinary people who decided they had suffered enough. The Battle of the Galactic Core ended not with the destruction of an empire, but with its transformation. Ships that had fought for the hegemony turned their weapons on the installations that had maintained the ancient weapons. Worlds that had been ruled by fear began the long process of learning how to govern themselves. In the months that followed, the Free Worlds Alliance became the Galactic Republic, a voluntary association of planets where every species had a voice. In their common future, Jake Morrison became the first president, not because he conquered others, but because they chose him to lead. Dr. Lisa Kane established the Department of Interspecies Relations, working to heal the wounds left by 10,000 years of slavery and oppression. Her first act was to create schools where children from every species could learn together, sharing knowledge and building friendships that would last for generations. Engineer Sam Collins founded the Galactic Institute of Technology, where the best minds from across the galaxy worked together to solve the problems that freedom brought. Instead of building weapons, they built hospitals, schools, and ships designed for exploration rather than conquest. Naira returned to her home world of Talaria, but not as a slave. She became the first elected leader of her people, helping them transition from a society based on fear to one built on hope. Her story became an inspiration to billions of former slaves who were learning what it meant to be free. The chains that had bound 1,000,000 worlds for 10,000 years were broken at last. The galaxy was free, and in that freedom, it found something it had never known before: the chance to become something greater than the sum of its parts. On Earth, children learned about the human liberation war not as a story of conquest, but as proof that freedom was worth any sacrifice to achieve and preserve. They learned that the greatest victory was not defeating an enemy, but showing them a better way to live. The humans who broke the chains of 1,000,000 worlds had given the galaxy more than just freedom from slavery. They had given it the chance to dream of a future where no one would ever again have to kneel before a master, where every being could choose their own destiny among the stars.